What's up, Cardfighters? Ryan here from Vanguard Central, bringing you a brand new 7Cs deck profile.
Stand up, Vanguard!
This has been a pretty scary deck that's been topping in Japan for a while now, and people are pretty much living up to the hype because this deck is actually very strong, very fast. Starting off with our grade 3s, we are running 4 copies of the main boss, the Lord of the 7Cs Nightmist. Nightmist is the main guy that you want to ride since he is the break ride for 7Cs. And not only that is that he fills up board pretty much for free, but it's the fact that he has 7Cs in the name, which gives us access to the 7Cs Stride. And then 3 copies of 7Cs Sage Pledgeaton. We run Pledgeaton in this because I run it at 3 because I've seen a lot of variants where they have like the 1 tech copy of the Prisoner Dragon, which is also 7Cs, but it's only a rearguard skill, or a drop zone skill, whatever, or the Gas Dragon. And I found myself when I was playtesting that I didn't want to ride those cards ever, so I felt like just going pure 7Cs on the grade 3 lineup, and it's been working pretty well for me. What I really like doing with 7Cs is riding on Nightmist first, and then using him as stride fodder because it sets up the superior ride play for his counterblast too. It's really good because he gets you free cards on the board if you are at limit breaks. You can get a superior break ride and then stride, so you have a potential plus 3 cards on the board for only cost of counterblast 2, and that's pretty much nothing in this deck because our starter unflips it anyways. For grade 2s, we are running 4 copies of Ruin Shade. I found that running 4 copies of Ruin Shade is super good in this deck just because it mills. It fills your drop zone as early as possible. And if you guys already know with 7Cs, one of the weaknesses is that if it doesn't fill drop zone fast enough, it can fall pretty hard. It becomes pretty much a snowball game. And so I found that wanting to mill as soon as possible is the best. So I run Ruin Shade at 4. I am running 4 copies of Negro Rook. He's the new trial deck card. This is probably the best card in the freaking deck. The reason why I'm running it at 4 is because I want to see it as early as possible, because I do random milling, and I don't want to have to depend on stuff like Obadiah, because if you're depending on Obadiah, you're most likely at a disadvantage. And so I'm running it at 4 because I want to see at least 2 copies in the drop zone for sure, because he's the ideal targets you want to call out. 2 copies of Skeleton Cannoneer. I see a lot of people running it at 4, and I think that's just a little bit too much because I guess the counterblasts are... You don't want to counterblast too much in this deck. Like, yes, our starter does unflip 2 every time, but there's only so much counterblast you can use in one turn. And so I feel like he's kind of like a pinpoint retire for select matchups. Like if you're playing against Revengers, you can kill off Judge Bao if it doesn't hit by then, or Dorrance, and you can also kill off stuff like Laurel. So it's a great card, don't get me wrong, but I feel like 2 is a good enough number because if you see it once in the drop zone, then it's there forever. And then 2 copies of Slash Shade. Slash Shade he's a great card. I think he provides a lot of early game and also multi-attacks, but I feel like it's just not the number that I want since it does only swing for 11 by itself. That's if you do the skill. So if you have him early and you can't get him in the drop zone because he doesn't have a hollow skill, then it's kind of hard to get. So I feel like running it at 2 is okay because late game is where you really want to see him. Early game, I guess if you can get it. But yeah, I run it at 2 because I feel like that's what I'm most comfortable with. For grade 1s, we are running 4 PGGs. Luckily, we were able to finally get a new perfect card since we've only had Gust Jin and the, Quintet Wall, which is pretty unfortunate, but we finally got that new PG with the amazing art. I love it. And we are running 4 Stride Fodder since this is pretty much a stride-based deck. You make a lot of power plays when you stride on Nightmist, who is basically a free super column because your rear guards get fat thanks to Negro Rook. And we're running the 4 Cutlass variant. I found that running 4 Cutlass is insanely good just because there's a lot of plays that you can make really early, like turn 2 Cutlass if you don't use the Forerunner skill for your starter, which is great because it sets up already 2 cards in the drop zone, one of them being your starter who you want to die. So 4 Cutlass is awesome because you can also fill soul with the crit trigger by superior riding on Pledgeaton, and there's a lot of ways you can actually get his draw off, and his 5k power doesn't even matter because Negro swings for 16 by himself. And then 2 copies of Nightcrow. Nightcrow's there to help fix boards, fix columns. What I really like doing is if you have a Cannoneer board or just a 9k, you can go ahead and use Cutlass skill, and then you can retire Cutlass and call him out for the 7k, so you get a nice 7 body instead of the 5k. For triggers, I am running 11 crit, which is kind of funky, but I guess you'll understand why I'm running 11 crit, 4 of them being Rough Seas Banshee, because you do get a free draw. It's really nice. Oh, it does fill soul for Cutlass also, so you kind of want to use this. It's foil. They rolled that out in the trial deck, so thank you for that, Bushy. And I'm running the 1-tech copy of Mick the Ghosty and Family. I feel like this card's hilarious just because it does give plus 10k to anything, and the fact that it has to be put on rearguard from drop zone and then it also goes back into the deck. So you get more triggers in the deck, which is only where I'm running 1 copy, and the 10k power. So it's kind of like a tech choice against certain matchups, favorably for me against Link Joker, just in case something doesn't die, or the Chaos Universe one of my front row units, and then that means I can make plus 10 to Negruruk on the other side. So at least it still comes in handy. And then 4 heal. And for our starter, we are running Grenache. I've heard him be pronounced a lot of ways, but I go with Grenache. So basically his skill is hollow. He's a forerunner. He's the best starter probably arguably for Granblue. Just because he makes a lot of your costs free. Because at the end, when he's basically put into the drop zone from hollow, you can countercharge 2. And so there's a lot of plays that you can do with this. One of my favorite is if you open up with another grade 1 and a Dancing Cutlass and you go first, you can just ride whatever grade 1 you have and you don't use his Forerunner skill. So that when you ride to 2, you're going to have 2 soul and you can play Cutlass turn 2. And that fuels drop zone. You get a free card off that. So that's what I really like doing with this deck. So he's pretty much safe all the time. The only time I guess he would be not safe is if he gets locked forever by Link Joker, or if he's banished, deleted by deleters, or if he's bound by Narukami. And moving on to our G zone, we are running 4 copies of Lord of the Loved by the Seven Seas Night Mist. I'm running this at 4 just because it's free, basically. It's Counterblast 1, you can Superior Call 2 rearguards to separate rearguard circle, and at the end of turn they die, which doesn't matter since you are going to be calling hollowed units anyway, such as Negruruk or Cannoneer. And I feel like this is just way too strong because you can Counterblast 1, you get guaranteed 2 16k columns if you have the Negruruk, and then a 5k boost on the other side. Or even you can call like Grenache, and you can unflip another damage. So you basically make this free. And then 2 copies of Night Rose, the new Night Rose stride. This is an amazing stride. I'm kind of iffy because I want to run Night Rose at 4, but I like having the extra Night Mist just because the Counterblast one is just so cheap. Whereas this one, it gives me more times to stride, whereas this one only 4 copies can give me 2 strides. But basically, Night Rose is on attack. You can basically call it a full column, but it just has to be different rows. So it can't be like in the front row. It has to be one back row, 1 front row. But basically, call a column. It's great because it provides a lot of multi-attacks, very powerful plays where if you have other Negruruks, you can swing a 16 column first, and then swing Night Rose and bring back another 16/21k column. So it's very strong. I'm running 1 Bandit Rum, just in case you want to like maybe force out a PG, if you don't want them to give you a free Superior Call or something like that. I don't really see myself going into it just because Night Rose is better for a stride because you can just get it free 2 cards instead of an on-hit 1 card. And then 1 Obadiah. Obadiah sets up the drop zone. I found it's a great stride, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if you are needing to go into Obadiah, you're probably going to lose the game just because you need to feel the drop zone by the time you stride. If you don't do it by then it's going to be a pretty hard matchup for you. So that was pretty much it for the deck profile, guys. Let us know what you think down below. Do you like it? Do you love it? Or do you gotta have it? Let us know down below, guys. Like our videos, comment below like I just said, and subscribe for more content. Vanguard Central, out.